Good evening, and thank you for joining us either on the live webinar or if you're just catching up at a later date. My name is Mike, and I'm here from Wildfoot to get things kicked off. And as you know, this evening we're going to be discovering a little bit more about heritage expeditions and the Sub Antarctic islands, but quite possibly not the ones you were thinking of initially, as these are the Sub Antarctic islands south of New Zealand and Australia. We will be joined shortly by Aaron from New Zealand, who will be giving you an insight into the region, its wildlife and the other highlights which may tempt you to head down under and see these remarkable islands yourself. Aaron, along with his brother Nathan, took over heritage from their parents, Shirley and Rodney, a former biologist for the New Zealand Wildlife Service, who created it back in 1985. So it's very much a family-run expedition company, and they still believe in their founding principle that conservation and responsible travel are partners which can achieve what might otherwise be unachievable. Heritage own their vessels, which allows them to control every aspect of a voyage and provide a fantastic small ship expedition experience, such as these images aboard the Heritage Adventure, which takes a maximum of 140 guests across 74 cabins. So really very manageable, very small, more of an intimate kind of trip. Cabins range from porthole triple cabins up to very comfortable suites that are available on board. Well, we're talking about Sub Antarctic islands this evening. Wildfoot can also help you should you want to join heritage across any of the other voyages in Australia, New Zealand, or even further afield in areas such as Japan, Indonesia, or even Papua New Guinea, to name a few from the options on the screen map you can see there. Well, that's enough from me, but should you have any questions, please use the question facility and we'll get back to you after tonight's event. Over to you, Aaron.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'm looking forward to sharing a little of what we like to think of as our backyard, the Sub Antarctic islands to the south of New Zealand and Australia, an area that we've known and we love. We travel there each southern summer, and so it's a place that's very close to the heart and one which we look forward to sharing with you today. So just a little bit before we get started of a background on heritage expeditions. We're based here in New Zealand, and the company started in the early 1980s with a passion and a purpose for sharing the beauty of New Zealand, the wild places and the wildlife of New Zealand, traveling through places like the fjords to the south of the South Island. My parents founded Heritage Expeditions. They've been integral in its development over the years, and today my brother and I are at the helm of Heritage, and that passion for sharing the wild places and the wildlife, the stories and the people of the areas we travel to are really still at the heart of everything we do at Heritage. Being from an island nation, ships have been a part of the equation for heritage right from the very early days of the company, and this is actually the first vessel that I sailed to the Sub Antarctic islands on, a small 60-foot motor launch that was one of our early vessels in the fleet. Today, the ships we operate are a little larger, and a little more comfortable, but those founding principles really remain true to everything we do. Throughout the world where we travel, the landscapes and the stories of the places where we travel are really a key element to our expeditions. We very much see ourselves as an expedition travel company. The destination is first and foremost, and it's opportunities for guests to get out and explore those places and really get a deep connection with the landscapes that we are traveling through, and the wildlife, the bird life, the marine life, the stories of the places that we're traveling through natural history, and the human history and the areas where that's a part of the destinations as well. So these really founding principles have led us to develop expedition programs right throughout the world, and my experience has been that I've grown up with the company. We've developed over the years. This was me as an 8-year-old in the Sub Antarctic islands, about to head down to the Antarctic. And over the years, we've evolved and developed. I've had the opportunity myself to spend many months and years traveling aboard our ships as an expedition guide and expedition leader. I went on to study albatross as part of my time at university and my degree in zoology. I studied these Buller's albatross, which breed on the Snares to the south of New Zealand, and then have continued as an expedition leader, working around the globe, not just with Heritage, but with many other well-known expedition travel companies. So I have had the privilege of experiencing most, if not all, of the well-known expedition travel destinations on the planet, and our backyard is a very special place. The Sub Antarctic islands to the south of New Zealand and Australia have some of the richest, if not the richest, diversity of wildlife and a great abundance of life that you just simply don't find elsewhere. These islands are incredibly wildlife rich, with a great diversity of penguins, more albatross species than you'll find anywhere else on the planet, and a flora like no other. So I'll introduce you to these Sub-Antarctic islands. The nearest to New Zealand is the Snares. This is actually where I spent a winter living during my research. It's a small island, just a couple of miles in diameter, but home to a higher density of seabirds than found anywhere else on the planet. It's claimed there's more seabirds at the Snares than there are around the British Isles, and it's a completely pristine island. So we explore the coastline of the island by Zodiac, cruising together with our naturalists. We explore along the coastline. The island is unique in that it's covered in a forest of tree daisies that blanket the slopes of the island, making for a very dramatic coastline that we explore, and breeding in under the forest is an endemic species of penguin found nowhere else on the planet. The Snares crested penguins breed amongst the tree daisy forest and then come down to the shores. So all these photos are taken from the Zodiacs during our voyages when we've visited to the island, and we'll spend a few hours sailing along the shores, watching the Snares crested penguins and all their antics as they come and go from the landing. There really is very few places on the planet where you're so immersed in the marine world and that interaction between land and sea as the penguins and the seabirds come and go from the island. These penguins are really quite remarkable in many ways, one of which is that they from where they land, they don't actually nest on the shoreline, but they walk up into the interior of the island to their breeding colonies. And this is what's known as the penguin slide. Landing on the shores of this rocky slope here, the penguins climb a 45-degree rock face to about 100 meters above sea level before heading off inland, and that's their daily commute as they come and go. And you can see the Zodiac there just sitting offshore watching all the action at the penguin slide. These tiny penguins that have over the eons have actually worn grooves into the rock with their nails as they come and go up the slopes. There are plenty of other birds, including terns and shearwaters, petrels and prions breeding around the islands, and of course albatross, and seeing the first of our albatross species that these islands are so well populated with. As we sail between the islands, you're in a very much an oceanic environment, great opportunities for watching the seabirds and also looking out for mammals like the dolphins that often join the ship as we sail south. Arriving to the Auckland Islands, these are the largest of the New Zealand subantarctic islands and some of the largest islands in the Southern Ocean as a whole. They are partly forested. They've got some great harbours. These are flooded volcanic caldera in the south of the island. So we spend a couple of days exploring the dramatic coastlines. With these programs, they're designed to enable guests to really engage with the destination. So for those that want to, they take a packed lunch ashore. We offer full day hike options on the island, as well as the opportunity to sit quietly a while for those that want to photograph, spend time with things like the sea lions that are breeding on the islands as well. It's a great destination in terms of opportunities for guests to really engage in the destination in the style that they want to. And it's just a beautiful coastal environment. It's a warm Southern Ocean environment. So we do have some forests. We have species which are maybe more commonly found in the alpine environment, like gentians. And of course, we have the marine mammals and the seabirds, which are breeding around the shores as well. In this case, the white-capped albatross that breed up above the southern cliffs of the island. So heading ashore, the guests that want to take their packed lunch with them, they've got the opportunity to really immerse themselves in this island, which has a flora that's like no other, with giant megaherbs, we call them, plants that have evolved to become larger in response to the environment on the islands. We'll head out with the naturalists on some of the walk options around the island as well. This is the main breeding location for New Zealand or hooker sea lions, which we'll find breeding on the beaches, particularly at Enderby Island. And there's certainly a lot of action. You could easily spend a whole day just watching all the activity on the beach as the sea lions go about their breeding cycle and their daily lives at Enderby Island. Fantastic photographic opportunities and really a range of options for guests to find what it is that excites them about the destination. I mentioned the flora in the Auckland Islands certainly has some great examples botanically, from the small gentians, which are brightly coloured, through to a range of plants that are found nowhere else on the planet, that have evolved to become significantly larger in response to the Sub Antarctic climate. Things that are related to the lilies and the daisies, but are quite unique to these islands. Even forget-me-nots that have grown far larger in these subantarctic climates. But uniquely, there is also a forest of the southern rata, which blankets the shores of the Auckland Islands. It's a beautiful, we would call almost a goblin forest that you can find your way through, this delightfully gnarled and twisted as it's growing along the shores, and blanketed during the summer months with a bright red flower that illuminates the landscape. And under the forest, you continue to find the megaherbs in full profusion as well. But for many people, it's the diversity of wildlife that they'll find on these islands, from the critically endangered yellow-eyed penguins that breed in under the rata forest and come and go across the coastline, through to the parakeets that are breeding there as well. There's a great diversity of species to be seen. Endemic cormorants that are found only on these islands, and a flightless duck which has evolved to live in the intertidal zone around the islands. But for many, the albatross and species like the light-mantled sooty albatross that call the cliffs of the island home are the abiding memories of these islands. And albatross is really a reoccurring theme, because there are a number of species. This is the slightly angry looking, many people believe, but very charismatic white-capped albatross that also breeds on the Auckland Islands. Sailing south from the Auckland Islands, a short overnight voyage brings us down to Campbell Island, the southernmost of New Zealand's subantarctic islands, and botanically one of the most unique places on the planet. These purple daisies, the pleurophyllums, are one of the more iconic species that bless this island with its botanic flora and diversity, but it's a great coastal environment. It's a subalpine landscape with these spectacular coastal views from the upper slopes. But for most, it's impossible to go beyond these flowers that cover the upper slopes of the island. They literally, I was visiting Campbell Island a week or two ago, and the flowers are currently in full bloom. And the landscape is covered in waves of this pinkish purple daisy, the Pleurophyllum speciosum, that covers the upper slopes of the island. And there's nothing else like it. These aren't small plants. These are knee to waist high that you'll find yourself walking through as you find your way around on Campbell Island. And once again, there's the opportunity for guests that want to spend the time ashore, take lunch and enjoy a full day ashore on the island, and get amongst the botanic diversity. And there's a range of flowering plants that flower from late November through till early to mid-February. So there's a succession of flowering across the summer months. But you find yourself ashore on the island in a world like no other, walking through this landscape of giant purple daisies, and amongst those you'll also find the albatross as well. Campbell Island has 6 species of albatross that are breeding on the island, including the Campbell albatross, which is found nowhere else, that breeds in large numbers on the northern reaches of the island. But for most, it's the southern royal albatross, a close relative of the wandering albatross, which is the most iconic of the albatross during our visits. And these breed dotted across the entire island, up amongst those fields of megaherbs, and are amongst the largest of all the albatross. And really, to be in the presence of an albatross like a royal albatross is to appreciate just the sheer sense of scale and majesty that these birds have about them. They return to the island each year to breed. The young birds come ashore to partake in their courtship rituals, which last for a number of years, and they gather in these large gatherings called gams. They socialize and meet, and our guests are up on the island, particularly later in the afternoon. They'll find these gatherings of birds. You're living amongst, or you've been amongst a natural history documentary unfolding before your eyes, as you see these birds wheeling above, circling, landing, socializing, regrouping, and continuing throughout the course of the day on the island. There's some great facilities for exploring the island, a range of walk options, including some of these well-formed trails with board walking that enable guests to make their way up into these very special parts of the environment on Campbell Island. And these are predator-free islands. So in addition to the large and charismatic seabirds, there's a great diversity of smaller land birds as well, including these endemic snipe, which are found nowhere else on Earth. Continuing a little further to the east, we have the Antipodes Islands, and the Antipodes are young volcanic islands, which have their own unique diversity of flora found nowhere else on Earth. Again, predator-free islands, which we explore by Zodiac. We're able to really see the full range and diversity of species together with our naturalists as we explore along the coasts of these Antipodes Islands with their erect-crested penguins that breed on the islands in abundance, and again parakeets that are found nowhere else. And this is the Antipodes Island parakeet as seen from the Zodiacs. Close by, just again a short overnight sail, we have the Bounty Islands, and the Bounties are probably the greatest wildlife experience in the Southern Ocean in terms of just that sheer abundance of life. There is literally not a square inch on the island that isn't inhabited by some seabird or mammal, from the New Zealand fur seals to the Selvin's albatross, erect-crested penguins. There really is a great diversity of life, and just that sheer abundance. A Zodiac cruise might only be a few hundred meters in coastline that's explored, but there's hours of entertainment along that coastline. And overhead, you'll have the albatross whirling throughout our time in the Zodiacs. This is my family out exploring at the Bounties last summer. So these programs and these islands are places which I've had the privilege of exploring throughout my life, and I'm enjoying sharing those with the family as they grow up. But it's also places where we do have opportunities and voyages where we do encourage people to bring along their children or their grandchildren and explore these islands. There is really nowhere else better in terms of a classroom to explore and discover the natural world than these sub-Antarctic islands. To the north is New Zealand's only inhabited slightly sub-Antarctic island, which is the Chatham Islands. And these far to the east of New Zealand, there's a small resident population of New Zealanders or Chatham Islanders that live on these islands, and we visit them during some of our expedition voyages as well. Incredibly wildlife rich and very unique and special islands, home to a number of species of albatross, some dramatic coastal scenery, and palm trees as well, with our nikau palms that blanket the interior of the island. Our explorations of the Chathams are a mixture of by zodiac and heading ashore, where we're able to visit a number of the reserves on the island, but also meet the local inhabitants, learn about their life, which is primarily a fishing and farming lifestyle, and also the work that they've done as the local families in terms of conservation for these unique environments. And some very unique bird life as well, including the Chatham albatross and the shore plover, which are found nowhere else on Earth. So that was the New Zealand sub-Antarctic islands. We also include, and biogeographically it's still part of the region, is Macquarie Island. Macquarie is the southernmost of these sub-Antarctic islands, technically part of Australia and administered by Tasmania. There's a permanently manned research station on Macquarie Island, and a chance to meet with the team that's there conducting ongoing research. But it's the wildlife, once again, which is front and center at Macquarie Island. For anyone who's visited South Georgia, the wildlife of Macquarie has many similarities with the sheer mass of king penguins that breed around the shore. And these are quite large penguins. If you haven't seen a king penguin, if you sit quietly for a moment on the beach, want to wander over and check you out. And if you're sitting down, they'll be looking you in the eye. They're a sizable bird with a well-developed sense of curiosity and absolutely no fear of humans whatsoever as they go about their lives in this fully protected environment that is Macquarie Island. With large colonies dotted along the shoreline, with the opportunity to spend time ashore, and there really is something to be seen at every turn as you explore ashore on the island, or by zodiac along the coast. This is one of the largest king penguin colonies on the planet at Lusitania Bay, and they literally occupy every square available inch of the land, right down to the tide line, which we were able to explore by zodiac. In addition to the king penguins, there's elephant seals in abundance, which make their home on the island, and another unique species of penguin found nowhere else. This is the royal penguin that breeds in millions around the coasts of Macquarie. And again, as with the other islands, time ashore, time to immerse oneself in the wildlife and the opportunities, and it's time spent in an environment where the wildlife has no fear. So as these guests are just sitting quietly for a moment on the beach, the wildlife will come to you, will really give you an experience second to none, and the very best photographic opportunities. So during the southern summer, so from November through to March each year, we operate our expedition voyages visiting these sub-Antarctic islands. During November through to early January, these voyages focus on the sub-Antarctic islands and really the great opportunities and wildlife of the region. We have several different itineraries which are sailing through these waters, designed in each case to showcase the islands and provide the maximum opportunities. The first of these is our Beyond Fiordland, New Zealand's Wildest Islands expedition, sailing just over the new year, and that features the Campbell Islands, Auckland Islands, and the Snares. But we also add Stewart Island and Fiordland to this expedition, and Stewart Island and Fiordland is really the highlights of the southern coasts of mainland New Zealand. Beautiful fjords, rich forest wildlife on Stewart Island. So a great showcase of all of that southern New Zealand has to offer, and a voyage of 11 days through the Sub Antarctic Islands and into southern New Zealand. One of our most iconic itineraries is our Galapagos of the Southern Ocean expedition. We have 2 departures each summer of this voyage, which visits those New Zealand subantarctic islands, but also extends down to Macquarie Island. There's a great amount of time is spent at each of the islands compared to the time that's spent traveling between the islands. It's a very action-packed itinerary, which offers a great range of wildlife opportunities, time ashore, and diversity of species seen during the expedition. And our ultimate subantarctic island expedition, timed with the peak of the bird breeding seasons, because this really is a landscape where birds do play a very dominant role in the diversity. And so this visits all of those subantarctic islands we've mentioned already, being the Snares, the Auckland Islands, Macquarie Island, and Campbell Island, but also extends out to the Antipodes, Bounty Islands, and Chatham Islands. So encompasses the full diversity. For anyone who wants to see all of the other species of penguins on the planet, they need to visit the Antipodes and Bounties, and this is really the expedition for them. But also the full range of photographic opportunities, wildlife opportunities, showcased in one expedition. So I've introduced you to a little of what you can expect to see and experience. This is one of the great wildlife destinations of the planet. Some of the greatest opportunities: albatross, penguins, history, landscapes, and flora like no other. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I really just can't emphasize enough how amazing these waters and islands and landscapes are, and they're a part of the world which as many haven't heard of, but they're waiting to be introduced to. And it's our backyard, but we're looking forward to sharing it in coming years.
Wow, thank you very much, Aaron. I think we can all agree that was a really great overview of the subantarctic islands, everything it has to offer. Some really interesting options and opportunities there. Wildlife and adventure, travellers are going to really love those kind of opportunities, so thank you. Aaron mentioned a few itineraries and dates there, and if you'd like any further details of these or other heritage trips, please don't hesitate to get in touch with the Wildfoot team using the details on the screen now for more details. Of course, it's a long way to go to get to Australia and New Zealand, and we find many travellers would like to explore the region in more detail to one degree or another. That can be a short trip in Sydney to see the iconic sights of the city, safari in the rainforest of the Northern Territory, or simply hiring a camper van and cruising the beautiful South Island of New Zealand. We do have an extensive range of options which can be added to complement a heritage expedition, so please do consider those as well. Well, that's it for this evening. I hope you found this evening's talk useful and, dare I say, even a little bit entertaining. So thanks again to you and Aaron for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night.